The ancient Egyptians worshipped this animal as a god, not because it was beautiful, because it does not negotiate. The Nile crocodiles here run longer than 16 feet, but this is not the largest thing living on the Nile. That thing is so large that for 40 years, no one could count it. Welcome to Wonders of Africa, the river that shouldn't still exist. Lake Victoria covers 26,828 square miles. It is the largest lake in Africa and the second largest freshwater lake on Earth. Its deepest measured point is 270 feet, shallower than most people expect for a body of water this size. How many rivers flow out of the largest lake in Africa? Only one. At least 10 major rivers pour into Lake Victoria. Just one flows out. That outlet is Jinga in Uganda. All 45 million people living in the lake basin depend on the same water system. Europeans called this lake Victoria, but it already had names. The Luganda call it Nan Nuba Ali. The Dolu in Kenya call it Nan Lolwe. To Arab traders, it was Ukerewe. On July 28, 1862, a 35-year-old British officer named John Hanning Speke became the first European to see this place. His party reached the river's outlet only with the permission of Mutesa I, king of the Baganda Kingdom. He named it Ripon Falls, after a colonial official in London. Ripon Falls stood about 16 feet high and 900 feet wide. In 1954, the Owen Falls Dam was completed and drowned it entirely. The dam runs 2,726 feet long and 102 feet high. Designed for 10 turbines and 150 megawatts. In 2001, it was renamed Nalobale, the lake's own indigenous name. Together with the Kiara station beside it, the complex supplies about 67% of Uganda's electricity. Downstream from Jinja, the Nile enters Murchison Falls National Park. In the dry season, the water drops and sandbanks surface in the middle of the river. Female crocodiles lay their eggs and bury them in that sand. This park holds one of the largest Nile crocodile populations in Africa. Many run longer than 16 feet. The ancient Egyptians worshipped this animal as a god, not because it was beautiful, because it cannot be negotiated with. That same sandbank is where the water thick-me builds its nest. That is not recklessness, because the small bird and the crocodile share one enemy. The Nile monitor grows to 6.5 feet and lives on eggs. It tracks eggs buried deep in the sand with its forked tongue. The thick-me has something the Nile crocodile does not: constant lookout vision and an alarm call. The Nile crocodile has something the bird does not: 16 feet of muscle. In exchange for that alarm bell, the bird gets to nest beside the largest bodyguard on the river. The deal only holds if the crocodile decides to get up. In 1954, the same year the dam drowned Ripon Falls, someone released Nile perch into the Ugandan side of the lake without permission. The Nile perch is the apex predator of these waters, with individuals over 220 pounds. It had no rival. Before it arrived, biologists called Lake Victoria a laboratory of evolution. Hundreds of cichlid species here existed nowhere else on Earth. But in 4 years, from 1982 to 1985, Nile perch replaced most native species in the Ugandan catch. By the 1990s, an estimated 200 endemic cichlid species of Lake Victoria had been driven to extinction. Science has never recorded a faster extinction of vertebrate species. The paradox is that the same fish built an economy. The fish that erased 200 native species is also the fish feeding 4 million people. Lake Victoria now yields around 1 million tons of fish a year, worth more than $840 million at the landing site. About 200,000 fishermen and 60,000 boats live on this trade. The most valuable part of the fish is not the meat. At the local market, a pound of whole fish sells for about $2.30. A pound of swim bladder sells to a trader for about $90. By the time it reaches Hong Kong, that figure hits $7,700. In 2018, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania exported 1,747 tons of Nile perch swim bladder to Hong Kong. Worth $124 million. The fish is pulled from a lake in East Africa. Its most valuable part goes straight to a market 5,600 miles away. In 1989, the lake received a newcomer. Water hyacinth is native to South America and reached Africa around 1879. It took 110 years to establish itself on Lake Victoria. Here it has no natural enemy, and its coverage can double every 6 to 18 days. In 1998, the mats peaked at no less than 42,900 acres of the lake's surface. The African rock python is the largest snake in Africa and can grow beyond 5 meters. It does not hunt by sight. Along its upper lip, the python carries heat-sensing pits, sensitive enough to pick up the body heat of warm-blooded prey. In complete darkness. With no venom, the python relies on a single grip, strong enough to take full control of small prey in a matter of seconds. It can lie still for hours, even for days, waiting for the right moment. Patience is the weapon, not speed. A granite crevice holds a steady temperature. which makes it ideal ground for a cold-blooded hunter to hide and wait. The light fades, and with it, the advantage of the eye. There is a movement in the grass. The python does not withdraw. And a cub has no way out of the coil by stealth. The cubs got out, but one detail has to be said plainly. A lion cub at that age sits exactly inside the workable prey weight of a grown African rock python. Which means what just happened was not defense, it was a hunt. Most lion cubs do not survive their first year. They are simply too fragile against the predators of the savannah. And yet, the python had picked the wrong target. Against the defense of the mother and of the whole pride, the python will never be able to return to this ground again. By late 1997, economic activity at Kisumu port in Kenya had dropped 70%. Kenya Railways shut all 6 piers around the Gulf. Kisumu's municipal water supply fell from 5.3 million to 2.6 million gallons a day. Clearing the intake screens at the Ginger hydro plant alone cost $1 million a year. From December 1996, community rearing stations in Kenya began breeding Neochatina weevils. They produced more than 142,000 of them and released them at 30 sites across 8 districts. The weevils spread as far as 31 miles. The mats broke apart. The FAO recorded that more than 60% of the water hyacinth on Lake Victoria had been destroyed by biological agents. An insect a few millimeters long did what an entire fleet of harvesting boats could not. Nearly 200 miles north of Jinga, the Nile meets a bottleneck. The entire river is forced through a rock cleft about 20 to 23 feet wide. Then it drops through 3 stages, roughly 394 feet in total. The British named the falls after Roderick Murchison, president of the Royal Geographical Society. On December 17, 1972, Idi Amin went on national radio and renamed it Kabalega Falls. The park became Kabalega National Park. Kabalega was the king of Bunyoro, who led the fight against the British. That name lasted 7 years. When Amin fell in 1979, the old name returned. The park covers 1,483 square miles. It was desettled as a game reserve in 1926 and became a national park in 1952. Inside it live 556 bird species, 144 mammal species, 51 reptiles, and 51 amphibian species. The delta, where the river empties into Lake Albert, is Ramsar Site Number 1640. It covers 42,730 acres and was designated on September 15, 2006. In the early 1970s, the southern half of the park held more than 10,000 elephants. By September 17, 1974, that number had fallen to 4,072. By September 26, 1975, only 1,061 remained, 85% gone in exactly 2 years. What stands out most is how those elephants were found. The carcasses were left almost intact, only the tusks had been cut away. In the same period, the northern white rhino disappeared from Uganda in 1982, the eastern black rhino in 1983. Not from drought and not from disease. From the late 1970s to the year 2000, the park's elephants fell from 16,000 to under 500. A land that kept its whole landscape and lost almost everything living in it. Today, Murchison Falls holds more than 1,200 elephants. More than 600 Rothschild's giraffes, more than 2,400 buffalo, and nearly 3,000 hippos. about a third of every hippo in Uganda. The largest peer-reviewed study ever done here draws on 2022 data. It counted 240 lions across 1,248 square miles. A density of 7 animals per 39 square miles. This is Uganda's last lion stronghold, while Queen Elizabeth National Park holds fewer than 40, and Kidepo Valley fewer than 20. Spotted hyenas at Murchison Falls reach 45 animals per 39 square miles. That is the highest density ever recorded in Africa. Leopards reach 14 per 39 square miles. In 2009, the Wildlife Conservation Society launched a lion monitoring program at Murchison Falls. From 2010, they fitted GPS collars to animals on the North Bank and tracked for prides. To date, they have identified 128 individual lions. The 2009 National Survey by WCS and the Uganda Wildlife Authority returned a bad result. Lions nationwide fell from about 600 to 400 in a single decade. Murchison Falls from about 320 to 130. The most recent Uganda Wildlife Authority report records 291 lions nationwide, down from 314 the period before. In that same report, elephants dipped slightly, while buffalo and Uganda kobe both rose. The lion is the one species moving against the trend. Do you know why? Leave a comment below. And the cause we are about to show you is something under 3 feet long that costs almost nothing. The year before, Murchison Falls had a 3-legged lion after he was caught in a wire snare. A 3-legged male cannot hunt, and a lion pride does not carry a useless member. No one on the research team believed he could survive. But the pride took him back. That is the exception. WCS records at Murchison Falls log the cause of every recorded death. Among adult lions, 71% of those causes are human. Around the park, there is no work and no support of any kind. The boundary is barely patrolled. There is no fishing ban. And at night, people cross the river and go in. For the people setting the snares, what they do is not an act of cruelty. It is dinner. The snare is set for antelope, but whatever walks into it can be any species at all. Leaving the park, the Nile empties into Lake Albert. The lake runs 100 miles long, averages 22 miles wide, and covers about 2,160 square miles. It is shallow, averaging just 82 feet deep. This is the lowest and hottest region in Uganda, with a year-round average of 79 degrees Fahrenheit. The lake formed 10 to 12 million years ago. Uganda holds 46% of the water. The Democratic Republic of Congo holds 54%. The Banioro and Batoro do not call it Albert. They call it Mut-Anzige. In Runioro, Ninzige means locust. Mut-Anzige means locust killer. The name comes from something people saw again and again. Swarms crossing the lake would drop into the water and die. In 1864, Samuel Baker renamed the lake after Queen Victoria's husband. In the 20th century, Mobutu Sese Seko renamed it after himself. One body of water, three names, and only one given by the people who live there. Water reaches this lake from two directions. The Semliki River runs down from Lake Edward in the southwest. The Victoria Nile enters at the northern end, through a swampy delta. Then the lake narrows, and the outflow takes a new name, the Albert Nile. Lake Albert ranks second among Africa's Great Lakes for fish yield, at around 172,000 tons a year. About 15,420 fishermen work the Ugandan side and about 20,000 the Congolese side. In places, shoreline population density reaches 386 people per square mile. In 1925, a government geologist named East J. Wayland published a short report titled Petroleum in Uganda. He logged the oil seeps along the shore of Lake Albert. The first deep well was drilled in 1938 at Butiaba and struck bitumen. Then 68 years passed. On January 6, 2006, the Mputa-1 well in Hoima district struck oil. It was Uganda's first commercial discovery. Since then, the Albertine Graben has produced 21 oil and gas finds. An estimated 6.5 billion barrels sit in the ground, of which 1.4 billion are recoverable. The Telenga project will drill about 400 wells from 29 pads. One of those fields lies inside Murchison Falls National Park. The number of well pads inside the park is capped at 8. The oil will travel through a pipeline 897 miles long, buried its entire length from Uganda to the port of Tanga in Tanzania. The pipe is heated to hold the oil at 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Because this crude is thick enough to stop flowing when it cools. Together, the two projects require about 15,800 acres of land and the resettlement of 767 homes. Past Uganda, the Nile enters South Sudan and loses its banks. It splits into countless channels and dissolves into Africa's largest swamp. They call it the Sudd. Its size is never fixed. UNESCO's file records the wetland swinging between 16,200 and 34,700 square miles by season. Averaging around 22,000. On June 5, 2006, it was designated Ramsar Site number 1622, covering 14.1 million acres. Only a handful of protected wetlands on Earth are this large. Aerial surveys from 2007 to 2013 confirmed that the Sudd holds the largest shoebill population in the world, around 7,000 birds. It also holds about 11,000 Nile lechwe, an antelope found only in South Sudan. Altogether, the region carries 470 bird species, more than 100 fish species, and about 100 mammal species. Millions of migratory birds from Europe and Asia winter here. About 1 million people live in this wetland. They belong to 4 main groups: the Nuer, the Dinka, the Shilluk, and the Anuak. All are Nilotic herding peoples, and all of them move with the water. In May and June, when the rains begin, they withdraw to higher ground. But the Sudd does not just hold water. It eats water. Roughly half to 55% of everything flowing in evaporates before it can cross the swamp. About 3.8 trillion gallons a year lifted into the sky. Water takes more than a year to travel the swamp's full length. For the people living there, that is why this place is alive. For hydraulic engineers downstream, it is a loss that needs fixing. In 1978, they began digging a canal. The Jomley Canal was designed 224 miles long, up to 164 feet wide, and 13 to 23 feet deep. It would route 5.3 billion gallons of water a day around the swamp, away from evaporation. The digging machine had a name of its own: Sarah, 8 stories tall, 2,300 tons, built in West Germany and shipped in 742 separate crates because nothing smaller would carry it. In November 1983, the machine was attacked. In 1984, the work stopped for good. They had dug only 149 of the 224 miles. To many people here, the canal was an act of taking their water somewhere else. Sarah still sits exactly where she stopped, at the end of an abandoned trench, about 160 miles long. Of the roughly 1 million people in the Sudd, the largest group is the Dinka, about 4.5 million across South Sudan. They do not call themselves Dinka. In their own language, they are the Muaniang, and the language itself is Thronyan. Their year is set by the river. The seasonally flooded grassland they drive their cattle onto has its own name, Toik. A single camp can hold thousands of cattle, grouped around each extended family. In this economy, no part of the cow goes unused. Dried dung is burned in the evening to drive off biting insects. The ash repels them too. Cattle throw it over themselves, dogs sleep in it, and children coat their bodies with it. Men rub ash powder into their hair to clean it and lighten it, after the hair has been bleached with cow urine. The ash also serves as toothpaste. Southern National Park to the west was estimated to hold 60,000 buffalo in 1981. Post-war surveys found none. At Boma, where 29,000 zebra once lived, systematic surveys observed not a single animal. On January 17, 2007, research teams flew 150 hours, covering more than 58,000 square miles. Repeating the exact flight lines and method of the 1982 survey. The result, more than 1.2 million animals, was still there. Over 800,000 white-eared cob, 250,000 Mongala gazelle, 160,000 tiang. The reason they survived is precisely that they never stayed still. GPS collars on 85 white-eared cob revealed 4 separate migration routes. Each route runs 30 to 190 miles. The full migration range covers at least 46,300 square miles. The species that stayed in one place were hunted out. The cob simply kept moving, year after year, out of reach of both sides. Then, in 2023, they counted again with new technology. 2 aircraft with mounted cameras took more than 330,000 photographs across a single continuous block of 47,400 square miles. On June 25, 2024, the results were announced in Juba. Not 1.2 million, around 6 million. White-eared cob alone numbered 5,089,421. This is the largest land mammal migration on Earth, larger than the Serengeti. And it moved through 40 years of war with almost no one watching. In 2026, this entire migration range was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. The recognized area covers more than 27 million acres. That same year, it was also placed on the list of World Heritage in Danger. Two decisions in 1 year for the same place. The reason lies in the rest of the picture. Elephants in this landscape once numbered 133,000 in the 1970s. Illegal hunting has cut that by more than 95%. The center of it is the new tarmac road linking Juba to Bor, a commercial bushmeat corridor. The migration survived 4 decades of war. It has never had to face a good road. The secret the war believed it had buried does not lie still in the ground. It moves. That is why it is still alive. But the Sudd is not the end. About 620 miles downstream lies Khartoum. There, the water that has just crossed the swamp meets the Blue Nile, the branch that pours down from the Ethiopian highlands. Arabic speakers call that meeting point Al-Mogran, the confluence of the two Niles. In flood season, the Blue Nile runs so strong, it dams the White Nile back and turns the whole area into a lake. At peak flood, the Blue Nile supplies nearly 70% of the main river's water. In the dry months of April and May, more than 80% comes from the White Nile, the water that has just crossed the Sudd. The two rivers take turns feeding Egypt, season by season. And at the head of the Blue Nile on the Ethiopian highlands, there is a new structure. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam broke ground in 2011 and was inaugurated on September 9, 2025. Its reservoir runs 107 miles long and holds 60 million acre-feet of water. Egypt argues that losing just 2% of its water means losing 200,000 acres of farmland. Two rivers, one name, and another story begins where they meet. The Nile beat everything that stood in its way, for millions of years. Then, in 1954, it lost to a concrete wall at Jinja. Ripon Falls, which had been on maps since 1862, vanished under a reservoir in a matter of months. But there are places where people cannot beat the terrain and will not back away either. So they do something stranger. They build right there. On a rock in the middle of the sea, where there is no dock, on a vertical cliff where there is nothing below but air, under the floor of a strait where water could break in at any moment. Every structure ahead was once called impossible to build, and every one of them is still standing. What holds a tower leaning for 850 years without letting it fall? The answer sounds absurd. 10 feet of soil. The Pisa Tower stands 187 feet tall, but its foundation reaches only 10 feet down. All those thousands of tons press onto a bed of sand, clay, and silt. That bed does not settle evenly. So, by the time the third story was finished, the tower had already begun to lean. The top eventually drifted more than 16 feet out of vertical. In 1990, they closed the tower to reinforce the foundation. Then they drew soil out from under the higher side, a little at a time, to pull it back. But they stopped before it stood straight. The mistake was not corrected. It was kept, because that mistake is the only reason the world remembers the name of this city. At Pisa, people made an error and then had to live with it. The next 4 places are the opposite. They knew exactly how the terrain worked against them. And they still chose to move in for life. Every brick and every drop of water on top of Sigiriya had to be carried up 590 feet. This rock rises clean away from the plains of Sri Lanka. Almost every side ends in a vertical face. And yet, in the 5th century, they still put an entire royal palace on top of it, with walls, water gardens, and quarters for the royal household. The only way up starts at the base of the rock. Stone steps feed into steel stairways, bolted straight to the face. Some sections thread between two boulders. Some hang right out over the edge. The palace foundations and the ancient water reservoirs are still up there today. The people who built it were not looking for a beautiful spot. They were looking for a spot no one could climb. Because the ground is so tight, they had to build courtyards and walkways right along the drop. So, a few steps outside a building, the ground falls away into the valley. The way up is a stairway cut into the rock itself. In places you cross a small bridge from the cliff face to the monastery gate. Six centuries have passed, and the resupply has not changed. Some monasteries still haul food up by cable hoist. It is not tourists pulling those loads. It is people who have lived on this rock for 600 years. The castle was not built on a hill, but straight into the mouth of a cave. Behind it stands a 400-foot mountain. In front of it, a near vertical drop. The result is a castle with exactly one exposed face. The other three are sealed by stone. Behind the furthest rooms runs a passage into a natural cave system, nearly 9 miles long, through the mountain. For centuries, that tunnel fed the castle every time the front gate was under siege. Besiegers could cut the road in. They could not cut a road they did not know existed. The fortress sits on a limestone rock, 525 feet high, in Carinthia, Austria. And the slope leaves exactly one road up. Onto that road, they placed 14 defensive gates. Stone walls, tight switchbacks, and unbroken gradient slow down anyone trying to pass. And clearing one gate still leaves several more ahead. Berg Hohostowitz has never been taken by direct assault. The road up is the first line of defense. In Switzerland, Cabane de Bertol looks like something left behind on a rock spur in the middle of the Alps. That spur is too narrow to build outward, so they built upward instead, 4 stories stacked on top of each other. Which means almost every face of the building opens straight onto empty air, including the way in. To reach the door, you climb a run of steel ladders bolted into the rock, one leading to the next. There is no platform below to catch you, only cliff and air. Through that door is sleeping space for 80 people at over 10,800 feet. The weather, the altitude, and the terrain here all work against any ordinary structure. And yet, every climbing season, people still spend the night inside it. Cabane de Bertol at least had a rock spur to stand on. Bivaco Buffa di Pereiro has nothing at all. This shelter is fixed straight onto a cliff face in the Italian Dolomites at 9,050 feet. It is anchored into the rock with steel anchors and heavy-duty bolts. Below it, the mountainside falls away almost vertically. With nowhere to stage materials, the structure could not be built piece by piece on the mountain. The sections were prefabricated down in the valley, carried up and mounted directly onto the wall. Inside, there is only room for a few people to spend the night. Getting there means taking the Ivano di Bona via ferrata. Other than that route, the only way in is by helicopter. From a distance, the Monte Rosa hut looks more like a metal crystal than a mountain cabin. It stands at 9,500 feet, right at the edge of the Gorna Glacier. A place with no road in, no power grid, and no water supply from outside. So every part of it had to be flown up by helicopter and assembled on site. And because nothing can be resupplied regularly, the building has to feed itself. The faceted aluminium shell both catches sun from every angle and holds heat inside. Solar panels cover most of the electricity. Water collection and wastewater treatment handle up to 90% of operating demand. In a place where people can barely fly in their wild mischief, exposed. Most hotels are built where they are easy to reach. Escher is the exact opposite. It sits on a narrow rock ledge on the flank of the Alpstein range. its back against a vertical wall, its front over ground that drops into the valley. The ledge is so tight that the mountain itself has to carry part of the load. The roof and walls tuck in underneath an overhanging slab of rock. There is no road here for a car. The shortest route starts with a cable car. Then you still walk through the wild Kirchli caves and follow a mountain trail another 20 minutes. Staying in one place is already this hard. Getting from one side to the other with nothing underneath you is a different problem entirely. The walkway at Cancun was built for visitors. Caminito del Rey was not. It was built in the early 20th century so workers could move between two hydroelectric plants at either end of the El Chorro Gorge in southern Spain. The most famous stretch clings to the cliff 330 feet above the Guadalhorce River and narrows in places to about 3 feet. On one side, a vertical wall, on the other, a straight drop into the gorge. The whole walkway rests on steel beams and bolts driven deep into the rock. But steel and concrete outdoors do not last forever. Over the decades, sections of concrete cracked and collapsed, and the path had to close. Today, a new walkway runs directly above the old one. The fragments of concrete still clinging to the cliff show how dangerous the crossing once was. The previous bridge on this site was destroyed by rockfall, so the new one was built considerably higher and finished in about 10 weeks. This is the Charles Couanen suspension bridge, with a walkway exactly 26 inches wide and a single span across the Grabengufer Gorge, with no support column in the middle. Below it is a 280-foot drop. The deck is steel mesh, so every step looks straight down to the bottom of the gorge. At that altitude, alpine winds can reach 110 miles an hour. The steel cables and the damping system are the only things holding the bridge still in those winds. Charles Couanen links two sides of a gorge. Peak Walk does something no one had done before. It links two mountain summits. The bridge runs 350 feet between two peaks at Glacier 3000, and the gap between the railings is only 32 inches, narrow enough that people cross almost single file. The deck is steel mesh too, so you see straight through to the mountainside below, and the entire span hangs from exactly two main cables. This site takes heavy wind, snow, and ice on a regular basis, so conditions are checked before the bridge opens each time, and it closes the moment they turn bad. Before 2014, the only way across was by cable car. How do you get the first cable across a valley 1,600 feet deep? In Hubei province, the engineers used a rocket. The terrain there is rough enough that cranes and most conventional methods were useless. So they fired a pilot cable to the other side. Once that first line was in place, the heavier cable bundles were pulled across one at a time. In the end, the structure joined the two mountainsides without a single pier rising from the valley. With a deck 1,640 feet above the Sudd River. At Jinja, a dam erased a waterfall from the map. On the Yangtze, a dam shifted the Earth's rotation by a measurable amount. The same act, different in scale. People do not avoid the harshest places. They put their most memorable structures right there. The Nile still has stories to tell. If its story reached you, a like is the fastest way to carry it to the next person. If you have heard of even one of the places we just crossed, leave that name in the comments. You may know this river better than you think. And if you want more journeys like this one, subscribe to the channel so our next video reaches you first.